Have you ever noticed how the most expensive things in life don't come with a price tag, but a debt? A debt that gathers interest in the silence of your own mind while you sleep, while you scroll, while you tell yourself that you'll finally start tomorrow. We live in an era where comfort has become a modern religion. We worship at the altar of convenience, believing that if we can just avoid the friction, if we can just smooth out the rough edges of our day, we will eventually find happiness. But why is it that the more comfortable our lives become, the more hollow we feel? Why does the path of least resistance always seem to lead us to a place we never wanted to go? Today, we are going to look into the mirror of a truth most people spend their entire lives running away from. This is the story of the hidden tax on the human soul and the man who almost paid it with his life. Imagine a room bathed in the flickering blue light of a television screen at 3 a.m. This is where we find Elias. He is 32 years old, sitting on a sofa that has begun to sag in the middle, mirroring the slow collapse of his own posture. In his hand is a lukewarm slice of pizza, and on the screen is a documentary about explorers reaching the summit of Everest. Elias watches them through bleary eyes, feeling a strange surge of inspiration. He thinks to himself that he could do that. He thinks about the business he wanted to start, the marathon he promised he'd run, and the woman whose calls he stopped returning because he didn't have the energy to be the man she deserved. He feels a momentary spark of ambition, a ghost of the person he used to be. But then the episode ends, the next one autoplays, and the spark is smothered by the weighted blanket of just 5 more minutes. Elias is a master of the soft exit. He doesn't make big, traumatic failures. He doesn't go bankrupt in a day or ruin his health in a week. Instead, he leaks his life away in small, comfortable increments. He chooses the elevator over the stairs. He chooses the delivery app over the kitchen. He chooses the distraction over the difficult conversation. To the outside world, Elias is fine. He has a steady job that requires 40% of his intellect. He has friends he drinks with on Fridays to complain about a life they aren't changing. But in the quiet moments, Elias feels a cold, creeping dread. It is the realization that he is becoming a spectator in his own existence. The turning point for Elias didn't come from a tragedy, but from a reflection. One Tuesday morning, the power went out in his apartment building. The silence was sudden and deafening. Without the hum of the refrigerator or the glow of the screen, Elias was forced to stand in front of his bathroom mirror in the natural, unforgiving light of the sun. He didn't recognize the man looking back. The eyes were dull, the shoulders were rounded forward as if protecting a hollow chest, and the skin lacked the vibrance of someone who actually moves through the world. He realized that for the last decade, he had been optimizing for ease, and the result was a version of himself that was fragile, bored, and profoundly unremarkable. He had traded his edge for a cushion, and now he was sinking into it. This is the law of atrophy. In nature, anything that isn't being used is being reclaimed. If you don't use a muscle, it withers. If you don't use your mind, it clouds. And if you don't use your courage, it vanishes. Elias decided, in that dark apartment, that he was done being a ghost. But he made the mistake most of us make. He tried to change everything in a single day. He went for a 5-mile run, his lungs screaming in a language he hadn't spoken in years. He sat down to write his business plan, his mind jumping like a caged animal toward any possible distraction. By nightfall, he was exhausted, sore, and discouraged. The voice of comfort, that silver-tongued devil in the back of the brain, whispered to him. It told him that he tried, and that was enough. It told him that he wasn't built for this. It told him to come back to the sofa, where it was warm. Elias almost listened, but then he remembered a concept he had heard long ago. The price of excellence is a tax, but the price of regret is a ransom. If you pay the tax of discipline every day, you own your life. But if you refuse to pay, regret will eventually come to collect everything you have left. He realized he needed a new philosophy. He needed to stop looking for the finish line and start looking for the friction. He began to seek out the things that made his heart race with a slight sense of fear. He started taking cold showers, not because of the health benefits, but because it was a small, daily victory over the part of him that craved warmth. He started walking to work, letting the rain hit his face instead of hiding in a car. He was resensitizing himself to reality. Slowly, the fog began to lift. In the vivid descriptions of his journey, we see Elias in a dimly lit gym at 5 in the morning. There are no cameras here, no one to cheer for him. There is only the sound of his own heavy breathing and the cold iron of the weights. He isn't there to get a beach body. He is there to forge a relationship with discomfort. Every time his brain screams at him to stop, and he chooses to do one more repetition, he is reclaiming a piece of his sovereignty. He is proving to himself that he is the one in charge, not his impulses. He is learning that the quality of a life is not measured by how much pleasure you consume, but by how much pressure you can transform into purpose. Months passed. The physical changes were obvious, but the internal changes were profound. Elias returned to the business plan he had abandoned. This time, he didn't wait for inspiration. He treated his work like a siege. He sat at his desk for 2 hours every evening, even if he didn't write a single good word. He was paying the tax. He reached out to the people he had ghosted, not with excuses, but with a quiet, steady presence. He was no longer a man who made promises. He was a man who took actions. He realized that the good life isn't a destination you arrive at. It is a state of being that you earn through the continuous rejection of the easy path. There is a moment in the story that defines the shift. Elias was invited to a party by his old group of friends. He went, expecting to feel a sense of belonging, but as he stood there, watching them lean against the walls, drink in hand, complaining about the same bosses and the same lack of money they had been complaining about for years, he felt a profound sense of distance. He realized that they were still trapped in the comfort loop. They were using the weekend to heal from a week they hated, only to return to that week on Monday. They were stuck in a cycle of anesthesia. Elias didn't judge them, but he knew he couldn't stay. He left early, walking out into the cool night air, feeling a strange sense of gratitude for the soreness in his muscles and the clarity in his mind. The ultimate truth Elias discovered is that comfort is a liar. It promises peace, but delivers anxiety. It promises rest, but delivers lethargy. When we choose the easy path, our world shrinks. We become afraid of challenges because we haven't practiced facing them. We become fragile. But when we choose the hard path, our world expands. We become the kind of people who can handle the storms of life because we have spent our fair weather building a stronger ship. Quality of life is the byproduct of the resistance we overcome. It is the gold that is refined in the furnace of effort. As we look at Elias today, we don't see a man who has made it. We see a man who is still climbing. His business is growing, but it brings new stresses. His relationships are deeper, but they require more vulnerability. His body is stronger, but it requires more maintenance. The price hasn't gone away. It has just changed form. And that is the secret. You never stop paying. You just get to choose what you're paying for. You can pay for the growth that comes with pain, or you can pay for the decay that comes with ease. There is no third option. The universe doesn't offer a free ride. So, I want you to look at your own life right now. Where are you choosing the saggy sofa over the standing desk? Where are you choosing the soft exit instead of the hard truth? Where are you negotiating with your potential because you're afraid of the friction? Remember that every time you choose comfort over quality, you are voting for a lesser version of yourself. You are telling your subconscious that you aren't worth the effort, and eventually you will start to believe it. The debt will come due. The ransom will be demanded, and you will find that you have nothing left to give. Don't wait for the power to go out. Don't wait for a tragedy to force you into the light. Step into the friction today. Find one thing that you have been avoiding because it is too much work or too uncomfortable, and do it. Not because it will make you rich or famous, but because it will make you real. It will remind you that you are a living, breathing creature designed for movement, for struggle, and for triumph. The quality of your life is waiting on the other side of the things you do and want to do. It is time to stop being a spectator. It is time to pay the price. If this story resonated with you, if you feel that spark of recognition in your own chest, then you are exactly where you need to be. We are building a community of people who are tired of the anesthesia, people who are ready to face the truth and reclaim their lives. For more deep dives into the mechanics of the human mind and stories that challenge you to grow, make sure you subscribe to Deep Mind Portal. We are going to explore the depths together. Thank you for listening, and remember, the price will be paid. Make sure it's the one that makes you proud.